Imagine crashing into the middle of the Andes Mountains, surrounded by snow, freezing winds, and nothing but an endless white wilderness. You have no idea if rescue is coming. Your supplies are dwindling, and the only way to stay alive might push you beyond your moral limits. This is not just a horror story, it's real life. The Andes flight disaster is one of the most shocking and inspiring survival stories in modern history. It's a story of courage, desperation, and unthinkable decisions. Would you have what it takes to make it out alive? This essay dives deep into the events of the crash, the harrowing choices the survivors made, and the chilling facts and theories surrounding this unbelievable event. Get ready for a journey that's as fascinating as it is disturbing. On October 13th, 1972, Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571, carrying 45 passengers and crew, took off for Chile. Most of the passengers were members of a Uruguayan rugby team, along with their friends and family. What should have been a routine flight turned into a nightmare when the plane encountered bad weather over the Andes Mountains. Due to navigational errors, the pilots believed they had cleared the mountains and began descending. But they were tragically wrong. The plane struck a peak, tearing off one of its wings. Moments later, the other wing and the tail broke off. The fuselage slid down a glacier before finally coming to a stop on a remote snow-covered mountainside, over 12,000 feet above sea level. Out of the 45 people on board, 12 died instantly, and more succumbed to injuries or the freezing temperatures in the following days. The survivors were left with no food, minimal water, and only the clothes on their backs. The bitter cold, which dropped well below freezing at night, was relentless. They rationed the few snacks they had, some chocolate bars, and a few bottles of wine. But these meager supplies didn't last long. The group quickly realized that help might not come for weeks or even months. They had no choice but to rely on each other and their instincts to survive. After days of starvation, the survivors faced a horrifying reality. The only source of food was the bodies of their deceased friends. At first, the idea was unthinkable. These were people they had known, laughed with, and loved. But as hunger gnawed at their strength and will to live, they realized they had no other choice. They debated the morality of their decision, even turning to their faith for guidance. Some survivors recalled praying and asking for forgiveness, believing that the souls of their friends would understand their desperate situation. Ultimately, they agreed to use the frozen bodies as sustenance, treating the act as a matter of survival rather than betrayal. Surviving in the Andes is no small feat. The altitude made it nearly impossible to breathe, leaving the survivors weak and disoriented. The freezing temperatures caused frostbite and hypothermia. The glaring sun reflecting off the snow led to snow blindness, making even simple tasks excruciating. And then there were the avalanches. On October 29th, a massive avalanche buried the fuselage, killing 8 more survivors. Those who lived had to claw their way out of the snow, knowing that their numbers were dwindling with each passing day. Back in civilization, search efforts began almost immediately after the plane was reported missing. However, the crash site was so remote and well hidden by snow that search planes flew right over it without noticing. After 8 days, the search was called off, and the survivors were presumed dead. This news didn't reach the crash site immediately, but when it did, it devastated the survivors. They realized that if they wanted to be rescued, they would have to take matters into their own hands. After spending more than 2 months stranded in the mountains, 2 survivors, Nando Pardu and Roberto Canessa, decided to embark on an incredible journey to find help. With makeshift gear and almost no experience in mountain climbing, they set out on December 12, 1972. The trek was grueling. They climbed peaks over 15,000 feet high, battled exhaustion, and faced the constant threat of falling or freezing to death. But after 10 days of hiking, they finally stumbled upon a Chilean shepherd who helped alert authorities. On December 20th, 1972, over 2 months after the crash, rescuers arrived at the crash site. By this time, only 16 people remained alive. Their story shocked the world, not just because of their incredible survival, but also because of the moral and physical challenges they had endured. The survivors used the bodies of those who had died naturally from the crash or the elements, but they still referred to their decision as a survival lottery. Many people labeled the survivors as cannibals, but they rejected this term, arguing that their actions were purely about survival, not choice. Some conspiracy theorists claim that UFOs were involved, pointing to strange sightings reported in the area during the search efforts. Studies on the survivors revealed incredible psychological resilience, with many crediting their faith and teamwork for their survival. The 1993 film Alive dramatized the events of the disaster and became a worldwide sensation. The Andes flight disaster is more than just a survival story. It's a testament to human will and adaptability. It forces us to confront difficult questions about morality, faith, and what we're truly capable of in life or death situations. For the survivors, the experience shaped their lives forever. Many went on to share their stories in books and interviews, emphasizing themes of hope, resilience, and gratitude. Their message is clear. No matter how dire the situation, the human spirit can overcome even the greatest odds. The story of the Andes flight disaster challenges every assumption we have about survival, morality, and the strength of the human spirit. It's easy to sit in the comfort of our homes and wonder what we would do in such a situation. But the reality is unimaginable. How do you decide between life and death when every option feels like a betrayal of who you are? For the survivors, the answer lay in their resilience and unity. They faced not only the harshest environment, but also their deepest fears and moral dilemmas. Their journey reminds us that survival is not just about physical endurance. It's about mental strength, faith, and the ability to adapt to even the most horrifying circumstances. The world was shocked by their choices, but can we truly judge them? Stranded in the freezing wilderness, with no hope in sight, they tapped into something primal, something deeply human: the will to live. Their actions, though controversial, reveal a raw truth about our instincts and our ability to push boundaries when survival is at stake. Today, the story of the Andes flight disaster serves as both a cautionary tale and a source of inspiration. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. What would we do to survive? Could we endure such unimaginable suffering and come out stronger? The answers are not easy, but they speak to the essence of humanity. This disaster is more than just a moment in history. It's a testament to human courage and the unbreakable bond of those who share an experience few can understand. The survivor's strength in the face of death shows us that even in the darkest moments, there is light. Their legacy is a reminder that life is fragile, precious, and worth fighting for, no matter the cost. The Andes flight disaster is a story of survival, but above all, it is a story of humanity's incredible capacity to endure.